Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Welcome back to another episode of the Chad Smith Podcast. My name is Chad Smith. Today is still Tuesday, January 11th, 2022. This is part 2 of the TrippyTimes debut podcast, and we're hosting it today on the Chad Smith Podcast because Josh is on a 24-hour hold to get his new channel up and going. So today we are hosting his interview. His debut interview with Sev Tok. We had her on this morning, and now this is part 2 we're doing with Preston Dennett. So we're just waiting for Josh to come back in, and there he is. What's up, Josh?
Hey, sorry.
We got two other co-hosts in the house, so I'm going to bring those guys in. We got Sonny and Spooky Morales. How's it going, bud?
What's up, guys?
Hello,
Morning again, everybody. How's it going,
Chad.
Spooky?
Long time no
Good
see,
morning,
huh?
Sonny. Good morning, Chad. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning.
You sound good, buddy. That microphone is killing it. That is nice.
Nice new microphone.
Oh, thank you very
there.
much. Wanted you all
so
to be able
glad
to
you
hear
can
my
make
voice.
Glad you can make it, Spooky. And Chad, thank you for helping me host my 2-part debut.
No problem, dude.
I really appreciate this. It's awesome.
Your guest is backstage, so do you want me to bring him back up?
Yeah, let's bring in a second guest today, Preston Dennett.
Preston, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
Very good. Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you. I'm so humbled to have I had Sev Tok on earlier, my actual MUFON investigator. I know you two have been on a TV show together, which I think is, it's just awesome, and it's surreal to me to be able to have YouTube up on here. You two and Chris Bledsoe are like the first big names that I met and got to speak to in this community, and I'm just really humbled to have you on here. I thank you.
Hey, it's an honor. I feel the same way.
And Chad, we have another guest that's just going to pop in, I guess, a little cameo to say hello for a minute.
Okay, I'll keep an eye out.
Or are they okay? Whenever they get on.
Yeah, they're not here yet, but as soon as they do, I'll let you know.
I had the little bio for Preston that I was going to read, and I lost that screen. I don't know, Preston, I guess, do you want to do a quick little introductory of yourself, I guess?
Yeah, sure. I can do that. I came into this field in 1986 as a complete skeptic, but after hearing about a report on the news, found out my family, friends, and coworkers were having dramatic experiences. So that hit home literally for me. I started buying books on the subject, found out UFOs were real. I joined MUFON, Mutual UFO Network, became a field investigator, and started doing interviews, going on the radio and stuff, writing articles. After about 10 years of research, I wrote my first book. That was 1996. And since then, have put out about 1 book per year on the average, and now I'm at 28 books and counting. So that's it in a nutshell.
That's awesome.
A lot of work.
Hey, Josh, your other guest is backstage.
Okay, yeah, let's bring her on real quick. Preston, didn't want to cut you off, but we have Sev Tok here. I know you guys were supposed to meet once before and you couldn't meet, so I thought now would be a cool little time to just, let you say hello to each other. And this is really surreal, and I'm excited. Hey, Sev, how's it going?
Hello.
Hi. Awesome to actually talk to you face to face, even if virtually, because I know we did correspond a little bit through.
Yes, and we're on
media.
that Canadian TV show together, Encounters UFO Physical Contact, and actually Preston's very prolific. I'm very impressed with how many books you've written. And recently you came and you talked to us at MUFON. I'm a member of the Experiencer Resource Team. And you came and you talked to us and you talked about your current book about people being healed through ETs. And I love that book because it's such a inspiring and beautiful message. You're not fear-based. You don't live in that vibration. And I'm always really happy to meet other UFO researchers who have bounced out of the fear and are embracing the beautiful, loving aspects of ET contact. And you're one of those people.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, the whole healing thing, I don't think it gets near enough attention. There's a very strong sort of spiritual aspect to UFO encounters. And healing is definitely one of their main agendas. Cases come from pretty much all major researchers. It's a very consistent feature of a UFO encounter. And a lot of people don't realize that. There is a lot of fear surrounding the subject, which I understand. It can be really scary when grays pop up in your room in the middle of the night and say, "Don't be afraid, but you're going to come with us." Yeah, I can see how that would be really scary. But yeah, I'm very encouraged now, having done a lot of research into this. I think this is good news for us.
Yeah, most definitely. I wanted to point out real quick, Preston, first off, I just seen you on a show with Grant Cameron a few days ago, and y'all spoke a lot about orbs. And that was a really, really great show, by the way. Now this could be like more of a mental thing, just with me. But I did tell Sev this. I don't know if I told you, Preston, but for about almost 10 years, a decade, I suffered from traumatic, really, sometimes extremely frequent, like weekly PTSD nightmares from my near-death experience 10 years ago. It was last year, about the time I started experiencing the orbs. After 10 years and even being on medication for my PTSD nightmares, they completely stopped. And I have not had a single one since, I think, about last May or June. And that could be a mental thing, but maybe there's a connection there. But I really believe these orbs are much more benevolent than the other way.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, one case I would point to is that of Jim Shaffer, who actually filmed an orb. He would film them all the time, but he filmed one in his bedroom, and it went right into his body, and it ended up healing him of cancer. Yeah, went to the doctor. The cancer was gone. This is medically documented. And yeah, I've got many benevolent orb cases. So that's awesome how you've overcome that. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't even piece it together right away. That what you were just speaking about, is that the video where you can actually see the blue orb go into the guy's leg on camera?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that was bizarre. I mean, that was really
I just watched that yesterday.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I talked to him personally. He sent me his medical records. Really, really nice guy, and just an amazing case.
Sorry, I have somebody calling me right now. Sorry about that. I remember hearing you say something about somebody being healed by lightning. Is that what it was, Preston?
Yeah. When I was doing research on the UFO healing cases, I looked into other avenues of healing, and there are a lot of them. People are healed during a near-death experience. Of course, there's all kinds of psychic healing, hands-on healing, and healing through an out-of-body experience. And I found about 50 cases of people healed as a result of being struck by lightning, which sounds insane, but it's actually really well documented, with cases stretching back several hundred years, appearing in the Lancet Medical Journal, really credible sources, and all the way up to the modern day. I mean, there's a lady, a teenager, I believe, who was working at McDonald's, of all places, struck by lightning, and it cured her of nearsightedness. But people cured of arthritis, fever, heart problems, cancer, paralysis. It's a long list. And I will say that lightning is very dangerous, and I would not recommend anyone go running through a lightning storm hoping to get cured, because you're more likely to get, medically damaged.
Trying to turn into an X-Men or something.
But it does happen, and it's amazing. I had no idea that there were so many cases.
Yeah, I thought it was fascinating too. Like Chad said, it seems like something straight out of a comic book movie. Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. We asked Sev this earlier. It seems like a lot of people. I'm sorry, Chad. Go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
I was just gonna say Diesel Girl's comment right here. I love checking out Preston's corkboard in the background. It's always exciting for me to see when he switches things up. I have to agree. There's always cool pictures back there.
Yep, always trying to put something new up there. This one's a true life case of a couple from Sedona who were taken on board.
Ooh.
Oh wow!
Yeah, they were told by the ETs that they were contacted because the ETs are contacting people who are helping humanity, and this couple does. They're very active in their community in Hawaii. She does herbal healing and homeopathic healing. He goes around repairing people's homes. And the ETs told them, yeah, we're helping people who are helping others, but it's up to everyone ultimately to solve your own problems, because we can only help so much. And you guys really need to learn how to run your own society.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating watching. It seems like it's just getting so much more mainstream now, and people are so much more accepting of it. And what I was going to ask you earlier, it really seems like the gap between paranormal and supernatural and extraterrestrial is starting to close in together. And I don't know if you feel the same way, Preston. But we asked Sev earlier, do you believe that things more on the paranormal, spiritual side, like apparitions or spirits or ghosts or demons or angels, that they could just be these extra dimensional or ultra terrestrial, however you want to phrase it, but pretty much just like an interdimensional being, that's still alien in a sense, but maybe a different type of alien, but there's still connection there. Is that how you feel, Preston?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure this all out, because I learned early on there is a connection. And a lot of the experiencers that I'd interview started telling me about near-death experiences, ghostly encounters, out-of-body experiences, clairvoyance, precognition, past lives, Bigfoot. It became very clear that there was a connection there. And I'm still a believer that a lot of what we're dealing with here is extraterrestrials in the classic sense. I think there are beings like us from other planets, and that's what people are seeing. But on the other hand, not all of them. I think some of these are, I think there probably are angels. And as far as demons, yeah, I have investigated some really scary ghost encounters in haunted houses and poltergeists. But I am not quite sure what the connection between all of this is. I feel like a lot of experiencers are spiritually woken up. And that's one of the reasons they start to experience a wide variety of paranormal events. They are suddenly able to do mediumship or channeling, or able to peer into other dimensions. Or perhaps it's attracting some of this stuff to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's weird connections there that are really hard to figure out. But I am reluctant to say that, these are all one thing, putting on different disguises, because I think we're dealing with separate phenomena, but there's weird bleed-throughs for sure.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like there are things that are just extraterrestrial, from another planet, and then possibly things from other dimensions or just higher dimensional beings. But I really feel like consciousness is probably the thing that connects everything. That's just my opinion. Yeah, I just think it's fascinating. Like Seb was talking about earlier, there might be like this astral plane or this, other dimension that maybe these extraterrestrial beings are more advanced and they have access to. But I think, everything is energy. And to me, when I say spiritual or spirit, I just think spirit is energy or consciousness. And I just believe that the whole universe is one big consciousness. Chad, Sonny, Spooky, you guys have anything you want to add?
Well, just to touch on what you were just saying, Josh, it's amazing to me that when I've seen the development I've seen in you and how you've been able to put a lot of these ideas together so quickly, it's really impressive, man. It's for me, it's taken many, many, many years to be able to come to an understanding, like you have. I don't know if it has something to do maybe with your closeness with the Bledsoe family, because they seem to be picking up and drawing a lot of the same ideas that you're talking about. For me, it's all spiritual. Ever since a very young boy, almost dying, and then seeing beings in the ambulance and in the hospital, and then for the rest of my life, many other different types of experiences. But I'm just really impressed with how fast you've come along, and I can't imagine where you're headed. So good job on starting the podcast. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that, man. And I said this earlier, speaking to Sev. First off, I do want to say that I feel like my near-death experience is kind of what triggered this, because after that, for whatever reason, well, not for whatever reason, it was my physical pain. I was looking into quantum physics and consciousness, and like 10 years ago, way before I believed in any of this paranormal UFO stuff, I just started digging deep into like consciousness and the weird phenomena that surrounds that, like the double slit experiment and just weird things like that. And I think that's kind of like what opened up my mind to be able to accept a lot of this other more stranger aspects. When I first started realizing that the whole UFO thing was real, I was very like, okay, it's the nuts and bolts explanation, it has to be. But then I started seeing things like orbs just materialize from nothing, thin air. That's when I'm like, okay, there's got to be something more to it. And then, visiting the Bledsoe family, having an experience with them, showed me that, not everything can be explained by just the logical explanations that we think we have from physics today. But I think a lot of things kind of linked up together, and that's what made me a little more open-minded and accepting to it. I really appreciate that, Spooky. Thank you.
Awesome, brother.
Spooky with the brand new sounding mic over there. Brand new buttery mic. Sounds good, man.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Son, Chad, you guys want to add anything?
Man, I'm just a little bit sleep deprived and just blown away. I love just listening to this kind of stuff. Sometimes I feel like I'm just watching a podcast. Sometimes I forget I'm part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're definitely, if you're starting out this early and you're already having all these cool experiences and talking to all these people, man, you're definitely, I can't wait to see where you go from here. And
oh, thank you.
definitely congratulations, and you always got my help if you need it.
Yep.
I
I'm always
appreciate
here
it.
too, man. We're always here. I'm always here for you. You know that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I appreciate those phone calls I get with you screaming and running around all frantic.
You won't believe what I just saw. You won't believe it.
I like that he thinks of calling me. It just blows my mind.
Yep.
Yeah, Preston, a few nights ago, I had an experience where I had a couple orbs pop up, and I ran inside to get my roommate/cousin, and he came out, and for the first time he had an experience, and I tried to get on camera. It wasn't just kind of hard to see, but I ended up calling Sonny, and he saw the live reaction. Saw two of the orbs on video, and now my cousin's reality has just been kind of shattered, to be honest.
It's always amazing when stuff like that happens. I remember once I went to a channeler meeting to see a person channel, and my sister-in-law was there and a friend, and I'm talking to her, and all of a sudden this orb comes like down from the ceiling and goes right between us all, and I'm looking at it thinking, am I seeing this? Because it looked kind of interdimensional, and I'm like looking at it, and I look at my sister-in-law, and she's tracking it too with her eyes. She's like, I see it.
Yeah.
I'm like, you do, because I was when you see something like that, your first thought is like, am I really, is this real? You don't want to jump to like, this is, a UFO, or, I'm actually, you try and find a mundane explanation. And then our friend's like, I see it too. And it went right between us, right into the floor. Just this little orb. It's just wild when that happens.
Yeah, and we were speaking earlier about how the orbs could be a variety of things. Like maybe some of them are straight up extraterrestrial, maybe some are more spiritual, and some might be like these drone type things, or it's just compressed energy somehow. Is that how you feel? Do you feel like the orbs could be a multitude of things?
Oh yeah. I remember once we had Thanksgiving dinner at my brother's house, and someone took a picture, and we looked at the picture, and there must have been like 8 orbs in there. I'm pretty sure that was all the people, our loved ones who have passed on, coming for Thanksgiving.
Wow, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, it was really cool. But then there are extraterrestrials too, for sure. I mean, we know this. I've had a really powerful orb experience that I'm pretty sure was extraterrestrial, because it came down in front of my car and I had missing time, and I don't remember what happened. I forgot the whole experience for a couple of months.
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That's incredible. Preston, Sev, did you have anything you wanted to ask Preston before I ask this question?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, a couple of things. Earlier, Sunny was telling us a story, and when you were telling me that story, Sunny, I thought of Preston, because Preston, I listened to one of your shows about UFOs underwater, UFOs that live beneath the surface, live in the water. And an experiencer, I think I'm correct about this, an experiencer that shared a story with you about that drew a picture of themselves in this big cave working with grays and working with other human beings. And that picture reminded me, Sunny, of what you were telling us earlier about your possible Mylab experience. So I just wanted to know if Preston could talk more about UFOs under the water. And is it Mylab related? Because Sunny has a really, really interesting experience.
Yes.
The whole USO phenomenon is fascinating. Unidentified submersible objects. I think they're down in our oceans, for that matter, lakes and rivers and reservoirs in large numbers. And I've got cases from all over the world.
So I'm sorry to cut in, but I think this was an experience that happened by the Channel Islands. Am I correct?
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
To the Channel Islands, Sunny? I'm sorry, Preston.
No, I'm in the valley, in Fresno in the valley. Is that what you said? Channel Islands? I don't know where those are.
Okay.
Is that I couldn't hear. I didn't hear what you asked. Did you ask if I was close to the Channel Islands?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not for sure where those are.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's not too far from Fresno. I mean, Fresno is more central California. Channel Islands is Southern California.
Okay.
Still California.
As the UFO flies, they can get there in a second.
As the UFO flies.
I mean, seriously.
The speed of thought. Yeah.
But yeah, the experience you cited, Sev, took place on. The guy was taken from Catalina Island, Avalon Harbor, and I've got a bunch of cases there where people are, taken and they don't find themselves inside a UFO. Well, not a bunch of cases, but a few. They find themselves rather in an underground area, or this is what they perceive. Certainly the case you mentioned where the guy found himself in a cave-like setting, he was taken from Avalon Harbor with his friend and found himself in this cavern with rock-like walls. And he said praying mantis or bug-like ETs, not your typical grays.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't scary for him. He's a pilot. He's a doctor. He's a pretty level-headed guy. And so
what was he doing?
Excuse me?
What was he doing?
Well, he was just a kid at the time, and they were taken in there, and they just set him on a bench. And apparently his friend was really the target of this experience because they took his friend into another room, and
Oh.
he's honestly not sure what happened. He's since lost touch with this friend.
Mm.
And this was all recalled under hypnotic regression. All he really remembered at the time was, having missing time. So it was years later as an adult that he went and visited Yvonne Smith, the, hypnotic regressionist, and uncovered this experience where he was apparently taken to what could be an undersea base or an underground base. And I think there probably is a base there. As far as Mylabs, I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of Mylab cases, military abductions. I have talked to people who have been taken by the ETs, and then they are accosted or taken by the military, who basically put them under sodium pentothal and question them about everything that just occurred. So, yeah, the whole Mylab thing is quite controversial. I think it does occur, but I still think most of the cases of people who are being taken by ETs are ETs.
Yeah, I'm still mind blown because me and Sonny have been, I've been talking to him for a while. We became friends, and I heard his experience that he was speaking about, but not in quite as much detail as what he spoke about earlier. And I'm just now learning about the Mylab thing, and I agree, Preston. I think most of them are actually just, ET contact or something on another mental kind of metaphysical plane. But what Sonny was speaking about, it sounds really like the Mylab thing and the cave thing that you were speaking about earlier. That's kind of like what Sonny was saying. He said he could so he said you saw like a opening somewhere, right?
Yeah. At the end of that hangar, there was it was just big and open. Just big, huge, I don't want to say door because I couldn't see a door or anything, or no hanger, like no hinges or anything. It's just a big opening out into nowhere.
Sonny, I'm sorry. I know we went over this earlier with Sev, but would you mind doing like a real quick overview of what happened with that experience for Preston? If you can summarize it quick at all, is that okay?
Yeah, Preston, I haven't told you before, Preston, about I don't even like calling it a dream. Okay, I had this experience from me doing the OBE stuff on YouTube. I use those
binaural beats.
Yeah, it's that, and people are actually walking you through it. They're talking you through it. I was using those, and I got it to work a few times. And then one night, not using them, I ended up in this place. I was on like a catwalk thing with a rail in front of me, and on this rail, there's like a frame in front of me, and it's shaped like an egg. And next to me, there's a tray. It's on like a roller tray, but it's filled up with these cells, and I'm supposed to be taking these cells and I'm putting them in this frame, and I'm building a battery with these cells. And the cells, they have a very strange color. It's blue like the Bluetooth color blue on your phone or any of our screen stuff is that real bright blue. And I was telling them it looks like the gel or what is ever in there is moving, and inside that cell while you're holding it, you can see it moving in there. And as I'm picking them up and clicking them on, as you click them on, they move with each other. Now they go back and forth, and as I'm putting these on, I'm on one catwalk thing. Below me, there's a big hangar, and there's two people above me, like on a different catwalk. They still have a rail in front of them. There's a guy in a white lab coat and another thing in a white lab coat next to him. And the other thing's way taller. The other guy just looks like a normal guy. I can see him, but the other thing, I can't see its face. I can't see what that is. I know it's big. It's bigger than the person that's standing there. And as I'm clicking these on, I start asking questions about like what it's for. And the guy in the lab coat, the guy I'm looking at, he says he with his mouth he tells me, you know, they go right there. And I go, no, not this, you know, not the cell. I know where this goes, you know, and what is it for? And the thing that's next to him says without moving his mouth, he tells me you just put them on there, you know, it goes right there just like you just did. And I put it on, I turn and grab another one and I'm clicking them on. And then I turn and look at him again and I say, yeah, I understand where they go, you know, but I want to know what is this going to be for when I'm finished with it, what's it going to do? And they don't want to tell me. And the big one starts telling me, just finish the battery is what he's saying. But he's not saying it in a nice way. He's telling me, you know, just finish the battery. In other words, quit asking questions. But he doesn't say that. He just says, just finish the battery. The other guy that I can see, he tells me that when I'm done with that, that whole battery thing I'm building is just like another cell that's going to click into something else. So then I start asking more questions. I'm getting frustrated because the other thing keeps telling me just to finish the battery, and I'm wanting to know what it's going to do and what it's going to power, if it's for a motor. Man, I'm a car guy, so if it's going to power something, I'm going to want to know what it is. And that guy, after asking him that last time, like after him telling me what it was going to be for, like they were going to add that to something else, it was just going to make a bigger battery. After asking him again, yeah, but what is that bigger battery going to do? You know, what's that going to power up? Then bam, I just woke back up in bed. Instantly woke back up, and then that paper back. When I woke up, I drew this, and I'm not an artist, man. I don't draw, guys. I don't draw well at all. I drew this so I wouldn't forget. And at the top, it just says over here, like, it just says each cell was snapped together like they were like magnetic. No, there was no tools or no glue is what I wrote. And then I drew this little thing that is what that cell looked like. Those little blue edges in there. And then they would just snap in there like they were magnets. Yeah, I wasn't using anything to put them on. They just clicked on.
Wow.
And almost like putting Legos together, but they didn't snap together. They stuck together like they were bonded. And then after asking too many questions, it was instant back in my bed. And then I was telling Sev that it wasn't like I woke up from a rest. I felt tired, like I just got home from work or something. And then, but yeah, I just woke up and started writing this stuff. And I never write anything down either. I don't keep this thing next to my bed. It's the first time. I've never done it since then either. Never wrote anything down since then, since I wrote that down. It's just, that was there, so I drew it.
Wow.
Never get sick of hearing that story. I pick up on something different every time.
I thought that, okay, when I would do the OBE stuff, sometimes I would forget. Like I knew it happened, but I couldn't remember like everything about it. And so I was worried that I was going to forget that for some reason. But it's like it happened yesterday, and it happened a long time ago, but it's like it happens. It's like it's happened yesterday when I tell that story. It's like I was there yesterday. It was that vivid. It's not like a dream. In other words, not like a dream at all. It's like a real thing.
Yeah. That's like the dream I had with my grandfather, Sonny. It's like it really happened. Am I getting a bad echo, by the way?
No, if you keep talking, it goes away.
Okay. I think that story is so detailed, and the way you speak about the energy flowing through them, like as you connected them. And you also, sorry if I missed it or got kicked out from it, but you mentioned that you had this feeling if you dropped that cell that you're holding, something really bad would happen.
Yeah, that was before I even started asking questions, though. That was when I was building it. I grabbed one of the cells, and I don't know if it maybe slipped or what it was, but I knew, like, man, don't drop this, because I knew whatever was in there could hurt me. Nobody told me that would hurt me. I just knew whatever was in there would really hurt you if you like got it on you. I don't know if it was like some kind of strong battery acid or what, but the way it moved in there, it was very strange, guys. I've never seen anything like that on TV. I don't. Chad knows this, guys. I've never even watched a whole episode of Star Trek. Not one episode. I've never. If I've seen Star Wars, it was when I was a kid, and yeah, so it's, in other words, if I was watching that stuff on TV, I could see me making that up in my dreams or something, but I don't do that I don't watch those kind of movies or anything. I don't know anything about that. I've never seen anything like that in my life. Not on TV or not drawn, not anywhere.
And I remember you saying that it felt more real than actual real life, almost.
Yeah, it felt very real. That's why when I describe it, I would like to say it's like if you guys had something happen at work a long time ago, but you still remember it, because I don't care if it was funny or scary or traumatic or whatever, you remember that day. Well, that's how it was for me when I built a battery that no one would tell me what it was for, and then the thing that I'm looking at in the dream, I'm looking at him, but I cannot tell you what he looks like. I could just tell you he doesn't have all his fingers. It's definitely 3 or 4 fingers. That was one thing that stood out as I was talking to him, stood out in my mind. Never once dawned on me that he looked like him. Looking so much different didn't matter while I was there. It was after I was back. Like, man, what was that thing? And then instantly, when I woke up, I could not remember what it looked like. It wasn't something that just went away. It was instant. I could not remember what that thing looked like. I can remember his body. I can remember the coat. I just can't see his face.
Yeah, that's something I've heard many times. There are several details that you described that immediately pop out. The whole theme of building a sort of alternative energy device is very common among experiences, or seeing one, or dealing with that sort of technology, and not being able to see the person's face who is not human is also very common. Feeling like this is more vivid than real life. We all have dreams, but then there's these experiences which stand way out. They're just different. And so all these things, I'm like, yep, heard this before.
That's cool.
So yeah, it's definitely really interesting when these experiences occur, and the whole idea of the whole technological aspect of it is fascinating to me, because this is a theme that I hear so often, and there are people who've come back from these experiences with detailed instructions on how to perhaps build a perpetual motion device or a free energy device. They've even gone so far as to file patents with the U.S. Patent Office.
Whoa.
And build sort of it often does have to do with magnetics as well, and you mentioned that, which is interesting to me. So there's a lot of little details in there that are sort of, I'm like, yep, heard that before.
Yeah, Paul, it's
Preston,
just like a story. It's almost symbolic. Like the pieces start to fit together from other people's stories, just like the thing that Sonny was putting together. I think that's so fascinating. I'm sorry, Chad. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Preston, have you, out of all those inventions that you've heard of, and including the ones that have been had a patent filed on them, have any of them actually been built and used, like where the science actually does work, the physics works?
As far as being released to the public, no. But
okay.
Whitley Strieber talks about a case where I think it was a farmer who got detailed instructions and built this thing in his barn and turned it on, and all the metal objects in the barn came swooping towards the thing and smashed into it and exploded.
What? Wow.
Whitley Strieber himself talked about how, as a kid, he built this little sort of device that ended up burning down the whole wing of his house. And so there are a bunch of, and I talked to a guy personally, an electronics engineer in the Navy, who had an experience on a Navy ship in the Mediterranean, and he was taken to what appears to be the engine room of a UFO, and they showed him this device. He's like, there's no wires attached to it. And they're like, well, this is the whole point. This is a free energy motor, and you have the knowledge to be able to build something like this. And he told his family about it, and they encouraged him to at least try. So he went and, to the hardware store, got some bunch of magnets, a bike wheel, and just kind of built this thing together out of parts from, his garage. And it was this perpetual motion device, which just spun for like 2 weeks. So it's a very interesting encounter. Yeah.
Wow.
Some people have built this stuff, but the ones who are successful at it, this is when the government steps in and will absolutely quash the invention.
Yeah, I was gonna say Nikola Tesla. Didn't he say that he got like downloads from, or what sounds like kind of downloads from something? And I mean, I don't know all the details behind this, but I think I remember Nikola Tesla saying he got information from some kind of higher source, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he believed he was in contact with extraterrestrials. And if someone like Tesla is saying this, because I mean, he's probably the most influential scientist, inventor ever. I mean, far surpassing Edison. Really, if you look into it, Tesla was the guy, and a number of his inventions were suppressed. So it's quite a shame.
I was going to add that I don't know if this is released information or confirmed, but isn't there stories about the government stepping in with Nikola Tesla and taking over some of his creations or inventions?
Yep, absolutely. It's such a shame. And I mean, this is something that's been going on for years.
I've seen somewhere where Edison, I don't know if this is right, Preston. I wanted to ask you before we move on from that. Edison, didn't he have people that worked for him and they invented stuff, and then when they came across something good, since they worked for him, he just put his name on it. So a lot of stuff that was invented by him, he didn't really invent. It was the kid working in front of him that he was paying to invent stuff for him. He was inventing. He paid people to invent stuff for him.
Yep. I've heard that. I'm not an expert on Edison, but that is exactly what I've heard. He's gotten credit in all the history books, and nope, it wasn't
Tesla
really
did not
him
do
at
that.
all.
Tesla did not do that. Tesla made all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow,
Big difference.
that's crazy. Yes. I guess Sev might. Yeah, she said she had to go do speak, I think, for something else at 2:00. So I guess she had to jump off real quick.
Well, that was cool
Sev,
having her on.
Still listening. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on, Sev. I'm sorry to change the subject up, but I wanted to ask you, Preston. I know you're still. I don't know if you're still in like frequent contact with them, but some of the children back then, they were children from the Zimbabwe school incident. That's actually how I first found out about you. Do you still speak to them by any chance?
No, I was never able to connect directly with any of them, except for briefly through social media. I did not really correspond, but definitely connected to one of the witnesses who told me that she was there. But that was, I have talked to a bunch of people who did have schoolyard UFO encounters, because the Zimbabwe case is very famous. It's where the UFOs landed next to the school and ETs came out and communicated with the kids. And it turns out that's a thing. I ended up writing a whole book about schoolyard UFO encounters, because this is absolutely something that's happening. It happened at Westall High School in Melbourne. Happened at Crestview Elementary School in Opelika, Florida. Broadhaven in Wales. Mostly elementary schools, but even colleges. There's the Hillsdale College incident in Michigan, where a UFO again landed next to the school. This is something that the ETs are doing. It's part of their publicity campaign, I think, to announce their presence. And it's still going on.
I thought that was just I thought that was just swamp gas.
Yeah, it's swamp gas and Sasquatch fart. That's all it is. Yep.
Sasquatch farts. Yeah,
Yes.
that one hits
Sorry,
home for
go
me
ahead.
because I'm not too far from Hillsdale here. I'm in like Ann Arbor, Michigan area.
No, I haven't heard of that one.
So now I work in
Um,
Dexter, actually, where the other sighting was.
Oh, wow.
So I'm
Yeah,
always looking
Michigan
up.
is huge for UFOs. It's one of the top producing states.
That's cool.
Wow. So, yeah, not the Zimbabwe, I guess, just specifically, but as far as like kids that or people who had encounters whenever they're children, uh, do they grow up? Do you feel like that's kind of planting a seed in their head whenever it happens? And these children who have these encounters at these schoolyards, or are they growing up? And I mean, obviously, it's going to alter their life forever. But do you think that that's maybe why it's happening to these kids, so that it gives them this paradigm shift, so that whenever they get older, they do something that causes chain reaction, this ripple effect that's just changing reality for not just them, but the people that they speak to and the people they encounter and the things that they do, causing a ripple effect throughout the world. Do you think that's maybe why it's happening to these young kids?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I would say that pretty much with the schoolyard encounters, the witnesses will, as adults, talk about how this is something they think about, often daily. None of them have retracted. It's something that really affects them deeply and profoundly. And there's a good portion of them who have really taken this to another level. And I would point to a guy from Scotland, Malcolm Robinson, who had a schoolyard encounter with his friends while playing football on the playground. And I believe this was at elementary, maybe junior high. At any rate, they saw this globe-like object hovering above the playground, and it really, they're like, wow, what is this thing? It was there for at least 5 or 10 minutes before suddenly disappearing. So he ends up becoming a UFO researcher, and really prominent. He wrote UFOs over Scotland 1 and 2 and other books. And this is not unusual. There's a bunch of these kids who have become UFO researchers or quantum physicists or astronomers or teachers. So there's absolutely, I think, something to that. And another case I would point to, which is really interesting, I wrote a book on a drive-in movie UFO encounters, where UFOs hover over drive-in theaters, which is so bizarre. But I had my own case in Paramount where this UFO dropped down over a drive-in theater. Well, not over; it came right down next to the screen and cleared out the theater. And I thought this was a one-off. I thought, wow, this is crazy. Nothing like this has ever happened before. I was wrong. I ran into 3 cases writing UFOs over Colorado of UFOs dropping down and hovering right over the screen or right next to it. And so I did research, found over 100 cases, ended up writing a book about it. But the case I wanted to tell you about is this little kid who went to the drive-in theater with his brother and his mom in St. Louis, Missouri, at the Skyline Drive-in Theater, and this UFO drops down right next to the theater. It's this huge red sort of oval object. It's casting light all over the cars. No one's watching the movie. They're getting out of their cars. They're watching this thing. Everyone's in complete awe. It stays there for a good 5 minutes. People start running towards it, at which point it takes off. So this little kid, his name was Peter, said that it affected him profoundly. He became very, very interested in UFOs and started connecting with researchers, became really good friends with Bob Gribble, who was a very prominent UFO researcher. He started NUFORC, the National UFO Reporting Center. And after some 10 or 20 years of, heading NUFORC, he was going to close it down. And this is when Peter, as an adult now, said he'll take it over. So this is how Peter Davenport became the director of NUFORC. And Peter says flat out that it was this childhood UFO encounter that led him to becoming the director of one of the most influential UFO organizations out there. And I have to think that the ETs knew exactly what they were doing when they showed themselves to these people, to Peter. knowing that this is going to influence, the world. And that, I think that is one of their main agendas. Again, it's a publicity campaign. They're trying to get us used to their presence, which ultimately I think is leading towards open official contact. I think that's why they're doing it. I'm speculating, but I think that's what we're going to be seeing at some point, is open official contact.
I completely agree, Preston, and I don't want to make this about me or anything. I don't think I'm better than anybody else, but I want to say that I never in a million years imagined I would be doing this, but me having the experiences, especially last year, just being such a huge year for me as far as all of this, it shifted my paradigm, and now I'm doing this, and it's something I never, if you were to ask me 2 years ago about some of this stuff, no offense to anybody, but I would probably laugh at some of it. But whenever you experience something, it's something that you think shouldn't be real, but it's right there in front of you, and it makes you look at everything completely different. It makes you question your entire life. It makes you question existence, and for some people it can be negative. My heart goes out to those people, and other people can be positive and transformational. And I do feel like we're never going to get disclosure from the government, like you said. I feel like it's either going to be the ETs themselves, or it's going to be the experiencers, or both. But yeah, I completely agree. That's why I see that question.
I'm right there with you, by the way. I would not in a million years have ever thought I'd be doing this. I was shy, painfully growing up. I mean, I never spoke in class. I wouldn't raise my hand. Don't look at me. So no, I would never have thought I'd be doing this. It's crazy.
Yeah, it becomes something like, for me, I'm kind of passionate about. I mean, I don't care about the attention or the money or anything. I love speaking to other people, other experiencers. And for me, because early it was a little bit of fear for me, I was really starting to freak out, but then meeting other people and realizing that they're going through this. I said this earlier with Sev, I learn a lot better from actually speaking to people and hearing what they've gone through and what they experience and what they think about it. And it's like we're all just puzzle pieces trying to figure out this big mystery. It's exciting to me, I love it. Spooky, Chad, or Sonny, do you guys got anything that you want to ask Preston? Because like I did with Sev earlier, I got some questions from a few people that I wrote down for Preston. But you guys got anything you want to ask first, or anybody in the chat?
Well, I personally don't have a whole lot of time left, but I am so honored to be able to meet Preston, and really appreciate you being here, man. I don't have that many questions, but one of the things that I do wonder, and without going too much into detail about talking about the virus, to me, there has been a lot more activity in the skies and in what people are reporting online about encounters and sightings and everything. And I just wonder what your take is on it, how the pandemic might correlate with UFO sightings and more people coming out and speaking about it.
Yeah, I did notice a correlation there. And in fact, I looked it up because this was something that started to become really obvious. And in 2020, reports to Newfork and MUFON in the first half of the year doubled. I mean, doubled. That is definitely significant. And I think this is all part of the Great Awakening with a lot of people who are waking up not only to the presence of ETs in our universe, but waking up to the corruption in government, waking up to the government cover-up, and waking up to our own abilities, and waking up
to an overall consciousness. Right.
Exactly. How the importance of love and family.
There you go.
And all of this. So I think there's the Great American Walkout. Have you heard of this, where people are just quitting their jobs?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I think that's all related to this whole sort of raising of consciousness.
That's right.
And this may sound like bad news, that we're going through right now, but ultimately I think it's sort of a cleansing, sort of a wake-up call. And people are now readjusting their priorities and deciding, what is important in their life. And and just knowing that, I've been in this field for so long, and I remember in the late 1980s when I'm like just going out of my mind with this. People are saying, "Oh, disclosure is coming," and it never did. And then 5 years later, "Oh, the government's going to announce." No, and decade after, years passed, and there was no official movement at all, at nothing, not one word, not a peep out of any governmental body. And now they are talking. Boy, are they talking.
Yeah.
I think disclosure is a little bit misunderstood, as I think people are waiting for that landing on the White House lawn, whereas it's been something that's been in the process of developing for an endless amount of years. We have no idea how long. It might have been a pre-plan from the very beginning.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's a process. I think it's like they're gonna release kind of like microdosing, I guess, of disclosure. Like they're gonna give you little bits and pieces because I don't think people can handle all this information at once. People who are just completely unopen to it. So I feel like they're just letting out little bit by little bit to maybe try to avoid the mass panic. That's just my opinion, But I completely agree with what you guys are saying.
That's right.
Clearly very, very carefully and tightly controlled. And I honestly think a lot of the recent disclosures we're getting were done, not voluntarily by our government. Yeah. I think they did it kicking and screaming because of basically whistleblower accounts and leaks from within the government. And the only reason they're doing it is not because they want to or for our own good, but because if they don't, they will lose all control. They will lose all credibility. People are now have shifted to the point where we know this is a real phenomena, and if you're not willing to admit it, well, you're good. No one's going to even look to you for answers at all.
Right.
And I think it's a mistake. Yeah, I agree with you, Josh, that we're probably not going to get disclosure from our own government, U.S. government. Definitely, I don't think. Much more likely from a CE5 group who calls down UFOs and gets undeniable footage, or another government, maybe Chile or Mexico or Brazil or Canada or France, maybe. I don't know. The U.S. is just.
Yeah, I feel like they got put into a position pretty much where the cat's out the bag, and now they either have to say yes, it's real, and of course they're going to say they don't know what it is, even though they know that it's not human. But if they deny it, what are they saying? That you've got Navy pilots like David Fravor, they're just loonies, driving around, flying around with weapons of mass destruction, or they're just crazy. They're seeing stuff in the sky, How does that make America look if they're saying that they have crazy people, protecting our country? Like you said, I feel like they got kind of backed into a corner where they have no choice but now to, admit that it's real. But of course they're going to say that it's real. We just don't know what it is. And I don't think they know exactly what it is, but they do know that it's not human. It's not ours,
Yeah, I think they know it's aliens. I really do.
Yeah,
they've got the Roswell craft, and the pilots, hearing them on 60 Minutes saying this is something we see daily.
Yes.
Is like a real wake-up call, because people think, UFO sightings are rare. And I'm like, I'm not so sure they're as rare as people think, because if Newfork and MUFON are getting a dozen reports daily, and they do, you can times that by 100 easy, because most people, 1 in 100, would report their sightings. Most don't. 99 people out of 100 do not report their sightings. So if Newfork is getting, let's say, 10, 20 reports a day, times that by 100, that's 200 reports daily. So it's someone's seeing a UFO at any given moment.
Yeah, and then you take the people who are kind of used to it, I don't report my orb sightings anymore. I did early on, but they start getting more reoccurring. You look at Chris Bledsoe, he posts videos of orbs now almost daily, literally just almost every single night now. It's going on overdrive for him lately. I know he's told me that. It used to be more like weekly, but now every day you can look at his page, he's posting these videos of these orbs. So yeah, like you said, Preston, I think probably every given moment people are having experiences. And I think it's ramping up for a reason. I really do believe that. I feel it. I don't know exactly what it's leading to, but I really feel that way.
Yeah, I agree. I think the ETs are very, very concerned about how we're treating our planet and each other. This is certainly the number one message they give to contactees. Was the message given to the Rua Zimbabwe kids. You're destroying your environment. You've become way too technological. Stop chopping down the forests. This is something the ETs have been saying ever since contact began, since the modern age of UFOs. That's the number one message. Whether it's the contactee era of the 1950s with friendly human-looking ETs, or grays, or praying mantis, or strange humanoids, it's always the same message. Stop messing around with nuclear power. You're polluting your environment. What are you thinking? Your warlike ways. You're on the verge of destroying your planet.
Yes, I have an experiencer that's about to come on. Actually, he's had multiple contacts with the Greys, and he has told me that he got a message saying, if you keep taking from the earth without giving back, the earth will, I can't remember the word that he used, but a cleanse. He said the earth will cleanse itself, and kind of gave me chills whenever he said that. But I really thought about it, and you're right. Like, we just throw all these pollution and just, we're just thinking about our own benefit, adding all of our technology and, cities and pollution, all this stuff to the earth, but we're not thinking anything about what we're giving back. We're just thinking about what we're getting from it. And the way that this person I'm speaking of, the way he said it, he got emotional when he said it. Like, it took him a minute. He really hesitated, and he said it scared him. He said every time he thinks about it, it scares him. But he said that he feels like if we keep being selfish, that the earth will cleanse itself. And yeah, I feel like that's what those ETs were telling the kids in Zimbabwe, pretty much.
Yep. Yeah. Well, if you look at maps of how much forest has been chopped down over the last 200 years, it's frightening. Or like the insect population. Insects are the most popular form of life on Earth. They are declining rapidly. I think the butterflies, the bees, all the whole insect population, which is vital, of course, to our biosphere, is just on a downward spiral. This is, really important stuff. And yeah, it may be scary in this. I don't want to be a doom and gloomer, because ultimately, this is good news. And, even if there would be an existential crisis and, the population of Earth is wiped out to a certain extent, got to remember there is no such thing as death, really, at all. That's a misnomer. There is, existence after life. We all go on. We're immortal beings. We've got past lives. We'll have future lives. It's death is much more like going to Hawaii than it is being buried 5 feet under or 10 feet under. It's a wonderful, healing, beautiful experience. Death is not what people think it is. It is awesome. Going to the other side is absolutely a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I have a strong belief that this reality is just like a training ground for your soul. I think these bodies are they're physical vessels. And I don't think your consciousness is your brain. It's just like an antenna, pretty much, that's holding it and putting out, frequencies. When I learned about things like remote viewing and, astral projection, to me, that's clear proof that, our consciousness is not like stuck inside of this physical body. It's just a vessel for it. Yeah, I think that's why so many people who have trauma and near-death experiences, they're more open to having experiences. Like you said, I don't ever try to get like religious or anything, but I definitely believe that there's a life after this. And I believe after my experiences, I know my belief in a higher power or, something else after this life, it's been strengthened so much after I began having my experiences. Like you said, I don't think that this is the end. The law of conservation of energy says nothing can be created or destroyed, only turn into another form of energy. Well, I was thinking about the fact that our consciousness, it has to be a frequency and it's self-aware. So whenever our physical body leaves here and goes back to the earth, our conscious has to go somewhere too, whether it's this dimension or another dimension,
Yeah, that brings it all back to the connection between all this stuff, because it's amazing how many people who have a near-death experience will start having contact and start having out-of-body experiences, or being an experiencer who's taken on board. is essentially, it's very much like a near-death experience, because being taken on board is like going up to the astral planes. It's a higher dimension where these UFOs are flying around. And people come back with the ability to do astral travel or clairvoyance or hands-on healing or levitation. And I mean, just the list is amazing. It's a real wake-up call. This is one of the main ET agendas. The whole spiritual aspect of this has been largely, overlooked or not given near enough attention, because that is really the rule when someone is taken on board, particularly, experiences who have this repeatedly throughout their lives. These are the most wonderful people and have a wide variety of paranormal events. And I mean, with my own experience, I started investigating in I found out UFOs were real in 86 and really dug in 88. And that's when I started having out-of-body experiences. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think any of this is a coincidence. It's all very synchronous. It's all very tied together. It's a wake-up call. Like I keep saying, this is what the ETs are trying to do, is wake us up to the fact that we have the ability to do telepathy and astral travel, and clairvoyance and precognition and levitation. Those are natural human abilities. They're not supernatural, they're natural.
I completely agree with that. I've been researching here lately into God, my mind just went blank. Edgar Casey, is that his name? Yeah, that's right, isn't it? The clairvoyant from 100 years ago or so. So many of the stuff that he predicted, came true. And the things that really struck me about that is, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Preston, but some of the things he predicted tying to Atlantis, and as far as there being tunnels under the Sphinx, I think the feet of the Sphinx. Are you familiar with this, Preston?
Yeah, well, to a certain extent, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know all the details, but they do this, I guess, electromagnetic or some kind of frequency, reading where they actually do detect that there is some type of tunnels underneath the Sphinx, and it's something that he predicted, a long time ago. And so much of the other things that he talked about, but he actually talks about there being some form of a library, I believe, underneath the Sphinx, and it has all types of things tied to Atlantis and about what Preston was saying, about abilities that we have. And he said, Edgar Casey says that whenever the time is right, these underground tunnels will be found, and we'll, I guess, wake up more to, the more spiritual aspects of life and, our abilities and psychic, phenomena and things like that. And I want to say real quick on the channel that I plan on, going. I don't want to just speak about UFOs and paranormal and stuff. I'd like to just speak about all types of strange aspects of life, things that people wouldn't normally talk about, whether it's psychic phenomena or ancient civilizations or, any of this. But I do want to ask you, Preston, because this is a question that somebody had. Unless son in your chat, did you guys have something you want to ask him or anybody in the chat before I get to this?
Man, I'm good. I didn't see
Yeah,
anything in the chat
I got
either.
two already. You go ahead, man.
Okay, Preston, I have a couple family members I can't name, but I got a few questions from them and a couple other people that I wrote down. One family member, I'm not going to say this person's name. They asked, do you think, because I've been speaking to them a lot about synchronicities, they said, do you think that there are higher powers or extra dimensional beings that help line up synchronicities in people's lives?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, the number of synchronicities among experiencers is shocking. And I've had that a lot myself. I mean, I'll be at the post office or the bank, and people turn to me and start talking about UFOs. And in my latest book, Wondrous, there are, I think, 5 cases of husbands and wives who say that they were brought together under very synchronous circumstances. They feel like the ETs basically set them up. So like a dating service even. And if you talk to Bud Hopkins and he has cases like that. So there's absolutely intervention going on with not only the ETs, but I think our spirit guides. That's one of their main missions, is to help, bring us on our life path. And you always know when you're doing the right thing, because these kind of weird synchronistic events happen. I got a book on this. I forget who wrote it, but there was this one incident where everyone was supposed to go to church one day, and everyone had an excuse why they didn't go. And that ended up exploding that morning.
Oh, whoa.
And there was like 12 people who's like, oh no, I didn't feel like it. I was sick. I just went to a party or whatever it was. They all had an excuse why they didn't go. But it was clearly far more than, something clearly was going on there. The book was called Incredible Coincidence. So that absolutely is something I think that is going on behind the scenes that we're not fully aware of.
Wow. That's me and this family member, we've been speaking a lot about synchronicities, because I have a lot of synchronistic experiences, and Chad and Sonny know this very well. I have a few more quick questions. Tobias, he's an experiencer that I plan on having coming on soon. He's first off, he said, Preston, I love your channel. You're one of my favorite people to listen to on this subject. Thank you for what you're doing. What is the most extraordinary or shocking experience that you've ever had, whether it be UFO or paranormal?
Oh, that's a hard one. The most shocking experience that I've had, well, I mentioned the orb experience I had with the missing time. That was really shocking. I would say probably the most shocking was, a story I've told many times, but briefly, I was in my condo in Canoga Park, and I just interviewed this lady I'll call Wendy, who was having experiences with grays. And full-on experiences, hybrid babies, abductions, the whole deal. And she had described this incident where she woke up and grays were around her bed, and she jumped up and kicked one in the neck and snapped its neck. And I'm like, holy cow, and I'm transcribing that interview. It's late at night. This is like 94 around there. And I'm transcribing the interview thinking, this is a lot. Is she telling me the truth? I kind of know she is. But really? She snapped Gray's neck? Are you kidding me? This is hard to wrap my head around. I'm kind of leaning back in my chair thinking, what do I make of this? And I got this really strong impulse that I could not resist before I even knew what I was doing. Honestly, I didn't even think of doing this. It just happened. I ran down 3 flights of stairs, grabbed my glasses out of my car without even realizing what I was doing. I use glasses for driving at night usually, and ran back up 3 flights, 4 flights. I went onto the roof of the condo, which is closed. You're not allowed to go up there. And I did anyway, and I went out onto the roof, and I'm looking to the north, and I've got my glasses on, so I've got good vision, and wasn't up there more than 20 seconds when this light appears. It was this huge glowing sort of oval orange white fiery object right across right over the LA River there, so a couple 100 feet away at the most, right above the palm trees, so very, very low, 50 feet maybe. And it spoke to me. It actually gave me a message. That was so shocking. I fell back on the wall, and it said, not in words, but in kind of like this idea, this telepathic message. It said, hi, we're Wendy's ETs. It's us. You don't believe, watch this. And not in English or anything, but the message was so clear. I mean, I got it. And it starts darting. Well, not darting. It was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, getting slightly lower each time, 10, maybe 20 times, and then just disappeared. Wow. So yeah, a UFO spoke to me. That was really shocking. I'd never, ever had anything like that before.
Yeah, actually, I watched your interview with Wendy. I remember that. That's an incredible story. Um, I have one, well, actually two more questions. This is from somebody I just met, and I don't know his actual name, but his screen name is I am Groot 579.
I am Groot.
Yeah, so I am Groot 579 wants to know, do you believe? Oh, that's a little controversial. I don't even know if I should. I don't even know if I should ask this. I'm gonna go ahead and ask it. Do you believe that ETs that look like humans are in high positions of power, government, politicians, etc.? That's not my question.
I think we know
Sorry.
what the question is. I think we know it.
Yeah. Well, I obviously don't know.
Yeah.
It's not something I have firsthand knowledge of, but the fact that there are human-looking ETs out there, and that many people have seen ETs in places you wouldn't expect, gas stations, convenience stores, subways, restaurants, casinos. I mean, there are a lot of cases out there. I did a whole study of this. So I'm going to say that me personally, do I believe that? Yes. Yes, I do. And I think some of them.
He said throughout history, by the way. I didn't mean to cut you off. I meant to add it in. So he's talking about all throughout time. I guess any
Yeah.
big figure.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me a bit if some of these really influential spiritual leaders had that going on. And, some of the heads of state, I wonder about, like, there's people talk about, reptilians and shape-shifting, the president is a reptilian. Certainly I've heard this sort of thing. I don't know that that's true, but I certainly wonder about the fact that we have some real problems on our planet with the unequal distribution of wealth, the suppression of technology, and just the one percenters and the divisiveness in politics and religion and so forth really makes me wonder, like, who is causing this and what is going on here? And, clearly there's, forces at work here.
Yeah.
So I couldn't say it specifically, firsthand that I know anything about this, other than I've talked to contactees who have been told that yes, there are human-looking ETs in positions of power on our planet who are working for the good of humanity, and some perhaps not.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry if I caught you off guard. This is just something I plan on doing with this channel, is getting questions from other people. But I do have a strong feeling from me speaking to him that he is talking about reptilian type things. But he did say good and evil, But yeah, I know you have no way of possibly actually knowing that, but he just wanted to know your opinion on it.
Yeah, the whole reptilian thing is really interesting to me because I don't get a whole lot of reptilian accounts, but those that I do have don't involve UFOs. They are people who see them out in the wilderness, perhaps the Everglades, or out, while hunting or whatever. And so I'm not sure I would even call them extraterrestrials. There's a term that's being floated around now called crypto-terrestrials. Well, I actually it's very intriguing because, like cryptozoology with Bigfoot and other unidentified or unrecognized creatures. Perhaps that's what some of what we're dealing with here is not extraterrestrials, but crypto-terrestrials. Like the reptilians, perhaps they've survived the whole dinosaur extinction event, moved underground and have been there for longer than we have, and that's what we're dealing with. The reptilians, I think, is a real phenomena. There are enough reports that we know this is going on, but I don't know who they are or what their agenda is. I've heard good things about them, but mostly not. So
yeah, mostly bad.
Yeah.
I've been actually studying a lot here lately into Agartha and Hollow Earth and a lot of that stuff. I'm just trying to be open-minded and look into a lot of things, but there's some really compelling stuff out there. I'm not saying for a fact I know certain things are true. I'm just theorizing and researching as much as I can. So the last question I have is from Brittany. Brittany is an experiencer I think I'm going to have coming on at the end of the month or on. Sorry, Sonny, what is going on at your house? Yes, Sonny, it sounds like you're about to get taken back to Mylab again.
Man,
Man, you need to
that
watch out for those men in black, Sonny.
my house got buzzed by F-16s with missiles on them. It was rattling the garage. I was like, "What the fuck is that?"
Really?
when I went out there, that's dude, that was so loud.
They got you.
I thought I muted it. When I came back, I seen it was unmuted. I was like, "Oh no, I bet they heard that."
Well, the last time you had an issue at your house, there was a Black Hawk flying over your house. So
I
every
know,
time we
that
talk
was
about government stuff, you get the government.
These
had
planes
Jim
had
Good- he's had Jim
missiles
Goodall,
on
too,
them.
man.
They were like loaded. These things were,
Armed and dangerous, huh?
yeah.
Sonny, you need to call Jim Goodall and Michael.
They were actually flying right towards Jim Goodall's house. They were going right towards Arizona.
That's crazy.
Go and have coffee.
Oh,
Yeah,
Spooky
so-
said, sorry, I had to leave. Thanks for the invite, Josh, Chad, and Sonny.
All
No
right,
problem,
thanks for being here, Spooky. Yeah, glad you can make it, Spooky.
Yeah, man.
Preston, I have this last question from Brittany. She's an experiencer I plan on coming on at the end of the month or beginning of February. She wants to know, what are your thoughts on Atlantis? Do you believe the Atlanteans built the pyramids? Could some of them still be alive here today?
Atlantis and ancient civilizations are not something I've really done a whole lot of research into, but absolutely, I do think that there were advanced civilizations before ours, and it's my understanding. I've talked to contactees about this who have been told by the ETs that there have been numerous advanced civilizations, or what we think of as advanced. I'm not sure I'd call us advanced, but all right, for sake of argument, yes. Technologically, we are. Perhaps spiritually, no. And that's been the real problem, because each of these successive civilizations have destroyed themselves with their inability to handle technology in a responsible manner. As far as who's built the pyramids, I couldn't tell you. I don't know if that was ETs or not. I hope that we do get the answer one day, but it's my understanding that probably there was something to that, and that these pyramids, which are not, of course, just in Egypt, but all over the world, were in fact a power source, a power grid, and that this was something the ETs used to sort of power their ships and the whole world. Yeah, Atlantis is absolutely real. I think the evidence for ancient civilizations is phenomenal. It's very compelling. And it's my understanding that a lot of the people from those ancient civilizations are reincarnating today to try to sort of repair go through the whole same lesson and not make the same mistakes again. And some of them might still be around. Lemuria is another one that's often cited.
Yeah.
And so supposedly the Lemurians are still active on our planet and living in Mount Shasta, which sounds crazy, but if you look at the stories coming out of Mount Shasta, I think you'll come away convinced, because it's.
I believe it 100%.
Yeah, there's like 20 some stories of people who say they've been down into Mount Shasta and met beings. And I've talked to some guys personally. I mean, I talked to a gentleman personally who had weird experiences at Mount Shasta. So something is definitely going on there that could absolutely be related to one of these ancient civilizations. And supposedly this could be some of the extraterrestrials we're dealing with, who, there's a term breakaway civilization, who, left Earth and are now coming back. And these are actually Earthlings from, our ancestors, our ancestors are coming back.
That pretty much evolved and got way beyond what we are right now as our capabilities.
Yep.
That's saying. And I believe they could have done that, left Earth or moved into ocean or moved underground or all of the above, I totally believe. I've been looking into the ancient civilization thing a lot, and as far as Lemuria and Atlantis, I think really the evidence is it's staggering now. If you really look into it, I know they don't teach a lot of this, or they don't teach any of it in schools and stuff, but the evidence is there. It's just undeniable. Look at the Emerald tablets and stuff.
I would recommend Michael Cremo's book, Forbidden Archaeology. And you will see, I took a lot of anthropology classes in college, and it was shocking to me because I thought everyone agreed on what was going on. Nope. They kept moving the date of modern humans back each year that I was there. And I only like a couple of years ago found out about giants on Earth. Like, you got to be kidding me. But the evidence for giants on our planet, I had no idea. Oh my God. Now I think that there were probably giants in, the history of our planet. Absolutely.
That's funny. He said I have somebody coming on here soon. He's going to be speaking about ancient civilizations and giants as well, and about graves that they found here in America that were apparently they buried some of these giants, and the bones were found. I believe he said some of them are underneath the Vatican, according to him. I'm not saying none of this is true, but or some of them are underneath the Vatican. I guess they were taken away and hidden down there. If what he's saying is true, but I definitely believe the giant thing is a strong possibility.
I got a book on it. There's literally hundreds of newspaper accounts, not 10 or 20 or 30 or 40, hundreds of newspaper accounts of these bones that have been discovered and are usually scooped up by private collectors or shipped off to the Smithsonian. It's really hard to track them down. There's like the UFO cover-up, there's a vicious, ruthless cover-up of this for whatever reason. I'm not sure I even understand why. What's the big deal, about what's the problem with revealing the truth about this? I don't get it. But it's absolutely, I think if you look into it, you'll be shocked how much evidence there is of giants on Earth. Native Americans talk about it. There's various museums which have giant battle axes, and some of this is in the public arena. It's just very hard to track down. I don't know if just governments want us to feel like, we just want people to feel like we're all that there is, so that they feel like they have dominant, or that we're going to be able to be protected by our government. Maybe they're in fear that if we know that there's other things out there like giants or paranormal phenomena or extraterrestrials, they're going to know that they won't have all the control over us. But just like you were saying, the person I was speaking of, he showed me these pictures of these femur bones that are, I mean, God, like 4 or 5 foot long. One of them was like 7 foot long femur bone.
Jeez.
And I mean, it's amazing. It's incredible. And like you said, it's in a newspaper. One of them, the picture he actually showed me. But now, if you actually try to find the bone, I guess it was confiscated by whoever. But it's incredible. I never knew any of this was real until here recently myself. But I don't know. It's just fascinating finding out how much things are being hidden. Right now, it's like there's a whole other side of reality that the mainstream public doesn't know about, and that's really what I want to cover on this whole channel and everybody I bring on.
Every time I try to build up a belief system, something happens and it all comes crashing down. So I don't want to believe in anything. Finding out UFOs were real, ironically, made me much more skeptical of everything.
Right.
You have to second guess what we're being told.
Yep.
They certainly didn't teach about giants in school. Man, oh man. That was shocking.
Michigan UFO says it has to do with giving credibility to the stories in the Bible of giants.
My sophomore year, I had to go to Washington State, and I went to a high school named Timberline High, and one of the required classes there was myths and legends, and they taught us about giants and Medusa and Thor, all that stuff. That was a required class. That was just like taking English. You had to take that class.
That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
I thought it was really strange back then, and I used to. I'll be honest, when I seen it on my schedule, I was like, man, this is dumb. What is this? Like back then, especially I didn't watch this kind of stuff on TV. I didn't read comic books. I didn't know any of that stuff. Maybe the first 3 days in that class, it was by far it was my most favorite class I've ever had all through school. No matter what school it was, that was the best and most interesting class I've ever taken.
Wow.
But that was actually a required subject at Timberline High in Washington State.
Amazing. Yeah. You know what? Another class I think should be required is how to astral project.
Yeah,
This should
yeah,
be
because no one knows about, like, if I can bring Medusa up to my kids, they have no idea what that is. Even my wife, she doesn't know what that stuff is. The only reason I do is because I had that class, and I think everyone should know that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I
that's
totally
cool.
agree.
Yep, I would have benefited a lot from it, I think.
It was fun. It was a good class.
Yeah, I love mythology and I love all that stuff. Preston, you were going to get the next thing I wanted to speak with you about. I don't know how much longer we have. I know we're not going to go super long, but the astral projection thing, as far as like somebody who's never heard of it or has no idea what to do with it, what would be like your best advice on getting started with something like that?
Well, first of all, just recognize that these things do happen. We have a dream body, an astral body, call it what you will. There is life after death, and we do go on. And this is something that we actually do each night. We astral project each night. So really, it's the safe as sleeping. There's no real dangers of getting locked out of your body or lost or possessed or anything like that. We have a silver cord that brings us back to our body. Whenever there's any strong emotion or fear or anything, it will bring you right back. So that's one thing I would say is this is safe. And the main obstacles to astral projecting are people are afraid. They fear it. They're like, oh, that sounds scary. And it can be at first, but no, it's safe. And another major obstacle would be skepticism. People don't think they can do it. And yes, you can. You don't have to be an advanced yogi or anything like that. Most people will have at least one out-of-body experience in their life. It's one of the most common psychic experiences. Another thing that is a real obstacle is just time. People are really caught up with their jobs and just trying to survive and in the physical world. So those are the three main obstacles: fear, skepticism, and just putting the time and effort forth. But it's super easy to do. All you have to do really is meditate and relax. The whole key is relaxation and memory. So you want to keep a dream book by your bed and really work hard on remembering your dreams, because again, this is something you're doing every night. So the whole trick is really remembering it. And it's really a 3-step process. You just physically relax, and by that you need to really relax. Take 20 minutes doing it until you feel perhaps certain sensations like heaviness or lightness or numbness or tingling. You want to get so relaxed you almost don't know, what position your arms or legs are in. So that's the real key. And this is where I think most people fall short, is they don't quite relax and let go enough. And then second would be mentally relaxing, because we all have this sort of stream of consciousness that's going through our head at all times. And we need to just step back from that and look at our thoughts from a distance a little bit. I don't think you'll ever be able to completely stop this stream of consciousness. But just sort of step back and get to the point where your thoughts start to turn into images and sounds. This is what dreams are. It's that your thoughts, becoming real. So once you do that, you mentally relax, you physically relax, and then at that point you do visualizations and affirmations. And by that I mean affirmations would be like, I will remember everything that happens to me tonight, or I will go out of body, or am out of body. Just repeat that to yourself. And visualizations would be, there's 2 ways you can go with this. You can visualize yourself in another place, and suddenly it will appear and you'll be in it. So it works best with a place you know really well, or a person perhaps who has passed on, a loved one. If you visualize them, they will come to you and lift you right out of your body. It works really well. And another would be anything involving movement. And this is what will physically take you out of your body. If you visualize yourself running down a pathway, or on a swing set going back and forth, or on the bow of a boat going up and down, or an escalator or an elevator going up, or spinning like Wonder Woman, sort of, or anything that involves movement will work. Rolling out of bed, that's one of the most common methods. Imagining a rope above your bed and climbing up it. These are all the various methods you can use to go out of body, and they work. And it's shocking when it happens. It's absolutely amazing, because it comes unexpectedly, and boom, you're out of your body. And you're like, oh, all it takes is that one first experience, and you know that there's life after death. It's so worth it. It's so much fun. You can fly, you can walk through walls, you can go to the other side, meet deceased loved ones, go to healing temples, learn about your past lives, talk to enlightened masters. Oh, the things you can do. It's insane. I mean, I cannot recommend it enough.
Yeah, if I ever try that and it actually works, the next time I come on here is going to be very different. I'm going to be coming up out of my seat and singing the praises.
Sonny, was that you? You going back to Mylab?
You got F-16s?
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I think. Oh, is he frozen? I think got him.
No, I'm not.
Sorry.
I don't live by an airport either. I don't know why they keep flying over the house. That don't happen here.
It does every time we talk about the government.
Yeah, you brought Jim Goodall to your house. You already know they're tracking him, man. So I mean, you screwed yourself over bad, Sonny. No. So Preston, I wanted to share something with you real quick. I think I spoke to you about this once. I just don't know if I got into deep detail about it. I still, I do believe now it was some form of astral projection. Maybe this is like 11 or 12 years ago, way before, like a decade before I believed in any of the before I had any of my experiences, before I believed anything extraterrestrial, paranormal. Well, I had a dream where, in my dream, I woke up exactly where I was laying down. And Sonny and Chad have heard me tell this story multiple times. But I come home from school and I lay down on my couch and I wake up exactly where I was. But as soon as I stand up, I have really intense vertigo. And I fall to the floor. I wake up, my head is pounding and spinning, and it felt physical. Like to this day, I can remember the physical feeling. But I had to use the walls to hold myself up to get to the back of my bedroom. And one thing that I've left out until here recently, I opened up to Sonny about it. Chad had been known about this part. I just always kept this part out because it was creepy. At the very beginning of the dream, whenever I woke up and my head was spinning with the vertigo, there was this person that looked like a friend of mine, but I know it was not my friend, because for one, this person was standing completely still and emotionless and just staring straight at me with jet black eyes, like no, just the entire eyes were black, completely, like there was no pupil. It was just the entire eye was solid black and staring straight at me, just like with no emotion, like they were just watching me. And I remember I made eye contact with him once, and it's freaky. It gives me chills when I think about it. But I made my way to the back of my house. I didn't pay any attention to this person. I was trying to get in my bedroom, and whenever I opened up my bedroom door, the vertigo immediately stops, and there's a man sitting in a chair in the middle of this big empty box garage type room. It was not my bedroom, just big and empty, and there's a man with white hair and a button up shirt, and his shirt's tucked in. He's got jeans on, he's got boots. I remember him perfectly, and he had a hat on. And there's an empty chair sitting in front of this man, like he's waiting for me. And I didn't recognize this guy. I didn't know who he was. But the vertigo was immediately stopped. I'm just confused. So I walk up and I sit down in a chair in front of him. And he said he had heard a lot about me and that there was somebody that wanted to see me. And he kind of nodded his head to the back of this room where there's a second door. And I get up and I walk to the second door, and I'm immediately in front of my grandparents' house. And I need to add in that my senses were dialed up. And like Sonny was saying earlier about his dream, this felt so realistic. It felt more real than actual reality, if that makes any sense. I remember feeling like I could feel my eyes was starting to water up as soon as I walked through the door whenever the sunlight hit me, and being able to smell the grass and everything looking extremely vibrant, like as far as colors. It's almost like it was so HD, like so computer animated looking, that it was more realistic than like what we actually are in real life. If that makes any sense. I know that sounds odd, but I walk up to my grandparents' house, and before I knock on the door, I knew that my grandfather was going to answer the door. I don't know how. I just knew that he was. I knock on the door, and sure enough, it's my grandfather. And my grandfather passed away when I was about 7 or 8 years old. He opens up the door, and I can remember him in this dream better than I do as a child. Whenever I was about 6 or 7, maybe 8 years old, whenever he passed away, and I have this dream when I'm like 17, so like 10 years after he passed away. And I try to say something to him, and I get choked up, and he just gives me a hug and tells me everything's going to be okay. And then I wake up. And a couple of bizarre things about this dream. For one, almost exactly a year to the day, because I wrote this dream down. I mean, it was 3 years off. 3 days off from an exact year afterwards is when I had my near-death experience when I got hit by a drunk driver. The other thing, after I had this dream, I went straight to my mother, and she's half Native American. She's really into dreams, and believes that they mean a lot more, than what most people think. She's really, struck by this dream that I'm telling her. She could tell that, I went through something because of the way that I'm acting. And she tells me about or she asked me about the man who's sitting in the chair, the first person that I spoke to in this dream. And the way that I described him, he fit an exact description of my great grandfather, not my grandfather that I hugged, but my great grandfather, who passed away about a month before I was born. He was killed by some robbers that broke into his home, and they killed him. And the last thing I need to say is that the day that I was born, the day less than 24 hours after I was born, my mother and my grandmother, and my grandmother she was the wife of my grandfather, who I hugged in my dream. I'm sorry, I know this is a really detailed story, but my mother and my grandmother, they both said that they saw what looked like an apparition of my great grandfather the day that I was born, the same great grandfather who was killed before I was born. So I know that's a little scattered, but what would you consider this type of experience? I know there was a lot that I threw at you, but is that like an astral projection, out of body experience? What would you consider that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's a full-on astral projection. It's got all the elements. Vertigo is something that often happens when you pop out of body, and it can take. I've had that many times, falling to the ground and trying to lift up and gather myself. And yeah, seeing the dark-eyed figure could be a couple of things. This could be an ET because they do have real dark eyes and will sometimes appear emotionless, or it could be like a bad spirit, a demonic type spirit, because when you pop out of body, often you're at the lowest plane here. The plane here on Earth is where a lot of the earthbound spirits are, and you can always tell because they're off. They can put on an appearance, and there's usually some detail that will give it away that it's not the person they're pretending to be. And you can just tell because they radiate, evil. And then going into another.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and meeting deceased loved ones is super common. And then going to a doorway, there's always these doorways and tunnels and barriers and walls, and these represent going to the next dimension. And how you described like high definition really rung a bell with me, because that's a really good way of putting it. If you remember what the old television sets with their low definition and the almost fuzzy screens, and then seeing the high def and the difference, that is a really good analogy to what it's the super reality of the other side, and how vivid it is, how detailed, and the colors, the way they pop out. It's almost impossible to describe to someone who hasn't experienced it, but it's more real than reality here. I mean, it really is. And when you see it, it's mind-blowing, because there's just no way to describe it. How red, like the color red would be, or things you can feel. Everything is like super hyper reality. It's amazing. And the whole apparition appearing on the day you were born, that's super common, actually, because all the relatives, we have ghosts around us all the time. And whenever there's a big family event, whether it's Thanksgiving or the birth of a family or a wedding or a tragedy, even, they're there. And it's an amazing experience. It's got all kinds of details, but I'm like, yep. That was a major OBE. Really, really cool.
Thank you. And that was something that happened, like I said, years before. Well, it was about 5 years before the first orb sighting I had, but the first one I kept in denial for like another 5 years. It wasn't until last year that I accepted that, all this is real. But for the longest time, I just thought that was just a really life-changing dream. But now that I've had these further experiences, I look back on it and I'm like, yeah, I know now without a doubt that was, a lot more than what I initially thought that it was. Thank you. I really do appreciate that. And I think I spoke to you briefly about that when I first talked to you, months back, but I didn't get into nearly as much detail. As far as the black-eyed figure, I've left that out so much. When I first met Chad, I told him about that in private. I didn't like speaking about that part because this dream is positive for me for, most of it. It's just the very beginning whenever I woke up with the vertigo and this black-eyed figure, and it took on the form of, a friend of mine. It was still a friend of mine today, but I knew it was not my friend just by the way it had no emotions, and it's just like it was observing me and just staring. I mean, I lock eyes with this thing. I get chills whenever I think about it to this day. It's like it was just observing me, like how is this person responding to what he's going through right now. That's the way I felt.
There's details about that remind me of ET, because people often get under the impression they're not emotional because they don't express it in the same way we do. And they can put on screen memories and have, appeared as relatives of other people. But on the other hand, it could have been a dark spirit, an earthbound soul, because I have had that experience popping out of body and coming upon absolutely horrible individuals who are, wanting to attack you. And it can be very
I had somebody recently tell me he thought it may have been both. Like when I first woke up in the dream, there was maybe an ET or some presence observing me on this astral plane. But then as I walked through the doorways, and she pointed out the fact that when I walked through the first doorway, my vertigo immediately stopped. And that's something I remember clearly. It's like my head spinning. And this dream was linear. It was step by step. My dreams are never like that. They're always scattered. But this dream, I remember like I'm walking through another reality. But she thinks that maybe I was like an in-between state when I first woke up and my head was spinning. And then as I walked through the doorways, I went to the first door where I saw my great-grandfather, and the next door where I saw my grandfather, who I gave a hug.
To me, that sounds like you're going from the etheric plane, physical plane, to the next level up, and then all the way up to what I would call the heavenly realms. I'm not really religious, but I don't know what else to call it. Because I mean, when you see those colors and that detail, that's a huge sign that you have reached the higher astral planes. And the whole doorway thing. Yeah, because the vertigo stops once you get through there. So that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, thank you. That's pretty much how she described it as well. It was Barbara Jean Lindsay, actually. I think you know her.
Oh,
she described that to me like that.
Love her. Got to get her back.
She's awesome. Oh, she's gonna be on my show sometime soon. Yeah.
Good. She's awesome.
Do you guys have it? Yeah, I love her. She's awesome. I just got her book actually. Do you guys have anything else that you want to ask Preston? I know we can't go on too long with this. I actually have a doctor's appointment coming up here pretty soon. But I've had a great time doing this.
Yeah, man. I'm just like I said, proud that you're getting this thing off the ground, and I know Preston's going to be on your channel again soon, probably. So I don't know. I'm just happy to help you out here
in the future, probably.
Absolutely, yeah. Happy to help you out, man. You're gonna get this off the ground pretty soon. And we're already working on your thumbnails and your logos done, But yeah, Preston, it's always good to talk to you.
I haven't been looking at the chat.
Well, the chat's been. It's been.
Chat that wants to ask
I had to let the dogs out. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. Sonny let the dogs out.
Yep.
Bigfoot Anon just got in here.
Does anybody in chat want to ask Preston a question? We're gonna have to get off here kind of soon.
Let me know when Chad calls off work. If he doesn't, I'll do it for him. Okay, well, that's not a question.
Those girls are so funny. I
They're
love
awesome.
them.
They're awesome.
That one time I was abducted by aliens.
Yep.
They were on the unidentified celebrity review yesterday, which Preston's about to go on, and they said something about being nominated for the worst podcast name. Like, I think they had the best podcast name. I love it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a little long, but I mean, who can't type? Just gotta type a little longer.
Yeah, it's just people being lazy.
That's right.
Preston, do you have anything coming up other than UCR tomorrow? Anything that you want to like promote right now?
Well, all the conventions that I keep getting signed up for end up getting canceled at this point. So, no, supposed to be on a new show, UFO Witness. They came over and did a little segment with me, so that should be upcoming. That'll be fun. And yeah, I mean, this is an important subject. I'm not going to leave it alone. I got a new book I'm working on. I will mention
cool.
that, which is about a lady named Dolly who's having full-on conscious contacts with the Greys. So this is going to be one of the favorite books I've ever written, really. I think it's going to knock people's socks off. It's pretty amazing what she's saying. So
awesome. And your YouTube channel, if you just go to YouTube and type in Preston Dennett, it pops right up, and everybody just make sure you subscribe to that channel. If you need something to watch when you're folding laundry or doing dishes, it's perfect. I have it on every day almost. So thanks for all the hard work you do over there on that channel and all the information that you provide. It's awesome.
Hey, my pleasure. Yeah, I'm having it's a lot of work. I had no idea it was going to be that much work. But
oh yeah, just watching all the stuff that you put on there. It's like, man, he's got slides and videos, and a lot of work goes into them.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, like I said, this is an important subject. It's going to change the world. I think people are going to have a real big wake-up call one of these days. If you don't believe in UFOs, you will.
2026. Yeah. That's what Bledsoe says. Bledsoe says so.
All right.
Yeah, I've heard a few people say some stuff about that. You know what's cool? I just thought about something. Chris Bledsoe told me himself something about when something lines up with the Sphinx, is what he told me. I think it's going to be in 2026, I believe. That's the age of Aquarius or
the spring equinox of 2026.
Yeah. That's what I was about to say. I was going to say fall or spring equinox, but I just thought about that, and then the fact that just like a couple of days ago, I was doing research on Edgar Casey, and he's talking about the information in the library, whatever it is that's hidden underneath the Sphinx, and that we would find that information when the time was right, and that it would wake people up pretty much to their spiritual abilities. I'm just theorizing right now, guys, but I don't know. I think it's pretty who knows? I think it's fascinating.
I'm ready. I'd rather worship our alien overlords than our current government. So
right.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Yep, I hear you there.
Preston, I do want to ask you something real quick. I know we're gonna have to get off here soon. I didn't realize till just a minute ago that I actually do have a doctor's appointment here in about 45 minutes. People who, I guess, people who might be having trouble coming to grips with this, like people who are maybe just like still going through the shock phase. What would be like your best advice for people like that? Or I mean, what do you think would be the best thing for them to do, or the best way to get it out to people who you think might go through a shock with it? I know I kind of butchered that question.
No, I totally get what you're saying, because this is hard for people. And I get that, because I came in this as a skeptic and I didn't even have an experience, and I was out of my mind with it, and I was not happy, and I was very scared, because I'm like, wow, aliens are kidnapping people against their will, horrific experiments, there's a government cover-up. What the heck is going on? And my heart goes out to people who are, going through these experiences and waking up to it for the first time, because it can be extremely scary. But what my advice would be, just, take a deep breath, relax, realize that you are safe. You've gotten through all these experiences so far, and you're fine. I would recommend doing your best to overcome fear. We're very much trained to fear in our society. And stop watching the news. Stop, buying into this whole fear and alien threat narrative, because it's not true. Yes, it can be very scary to have an encounter. And yes, some people do have negative encounters. I'm not going to discount that for a second. This can be very scary and, physically painful, and PTSD and nightmares, the whole deal. But what the pattern I've seen is that people who overcome their fear are treated much differently, and they are not having their memories suppressed or wiped. They're not paralyzed during an experience. So I'd recommend really trying to move past fear and look at what is actually happening to you. Because a lot of people, yes, the worst I hear is the physical exam, which can be very unpleasant. And if someone is very, very scared, it's often, easy to come to the conclusion, like, this is not good for me. This is evil.
Right.
And I'm not so sure that that is actually what's happening here. So I'd recommend people to meditate, move past the fear, try to come from a space of love and understanding and compassion, and really objectively look at your experiences. Because while being physically examined is not necessarily pleasant, I mean, no one really likes going to the doctor and being poked and prodded and having needles and so forth. But I don't have any evidence that ETs are really trying to hurt people. I have no accounts of what I would call sadistic type of behavior. So ultimately, what happens to experiences is once they get past the fear, they are treated much differently. They're given tours of the craft. They're given messages. They're taught spiritual advice. Overall, I'm very hopeful and encouraged about, the end game of all of this. So my recommendation would be for people to meditate and reach out and wake up, try to elevate your psychic abilities, try to meet the ETs halfway and understand what their agenda is with each person. Because I don't think they're here to take over or eat us for lunch or anything like that. Their agenda is to wake us up spiritually, to wake us up to the fact that we're on the verge of destroying our planet, to heal us. This is what I see mostly. It's a wide universe. I'm not going to say they're all our space brothers. And my heart goes out to people who are, having negative experiences. It is possible to stop. If you don't want to be a part of this project, you are an autonomous being. You have the right to say, no, I do not want this to be a part of my life. Go away. And that will work. I think that's the most effective method, is just sheer willpower. Like, no, I'm not ready for this. Go away. And I just don't want to be a part of this. That can work. So that would be my advice, is just meditate and try to allow love and compassion to guide our actions and truth. And don't buy the government's lies or alien threat narrative, because it's not true.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was a little upset about the George Knapp book that I haven't read it, but I've heard about it. You and Grant Cameron were just speaking about it, talking about orbs, and I'm like, at first I hear about it, I'm like, oh, that's great, they're getting orbs out into the mainstream, but from what I've heard, it was mostly negative. And to me, like, I think you said the same thing with Grant Cameron. I've never heard of a negative orb experience, unless the person gets too close, maybe, to it and touches it. I could definitely see that, but they've been positive for me. They only show up whenever things are going positive for me.
Yep, I agree.
Sonny, Chad, do you guys have anything that you wanted to say? I am going to have to get off here in a minute. I'm so grateful to have Preston and Sev on earlier, and you guys co-hosting to help me do this.
Yeah, man, no problem. I just want to say thanks again to Preston for hanging out with us and for coming on for the second time. And always a pleasure to talk to you, man. Always.
Yeah, man, it's always great when you come on, Preston.
Hey, I am honored. Thanks, guys. It's always fun.
No problem. Anytime. Yep.
All right. Well, you guys ready to close this out?
Yeah, man, I'm all set. I'm gonna go get some sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say that's everything. I know you got to work tonight, and Chad, man, thank you so much. I know you probably
This happened last time.
going to feel it whenever you get up tonight for work. But thanks
Oh,
for
boy.
everything.
It's so funny.
Am I frozen?
Yeah, just like last time, right before you were about to say goodbye. You started freezing
Oh
up.
no.
No, you're good
It's
now.
working now.
Yeah, you're good now. Hurry up, say goodbye. No.
I don't know what's going on. Okay. Okay.
yeah, man.
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and say my goodbyes to everybody. Chad, thank you for helping me since I got laptop issues, for helping me launch this all. And,
No problem,
Sonny,
man.
you as well.
Anytime.
Preston for being on here, and Sev and Spooky. It's been awesome.
All right, man.
All right. Well, I guess
we'll catch you
take
next
care,
time on your
everybody. It
channel.
was great being on here. I had a great time.
That's right. Subscribe to TrippyTimes
All
on
right.
YouTube. Find the link in the description.
Take care, everyone.
We'll see you guys.
All right. Bye.
See you guys later. Thanks.
And